Okay, so first of all, thank you everyone and very good morning for being and thanks for everyone for being the part of this webinar. So I would introduce myself. I'm Manali, the product manager for the VIPRE email security and for the CyberDisti. CyberDisti, coming to the CyberDisti, we are the value-added distributor for the cybersecurity products and the solutions, and we are in the market for about half a decade. We have our headquarters in Dubai and the regional offices in Oman, Kenya, and KSA. We have spread all across the India. We have the team members of 45, which includes the channel sales, pre-sales, and the post-sales with in-house qualified and the certified technical team, which they will be supporting to our partners and to the end customer through the product cycle, right from the pre-sales to the post-sales. So in this scenario, the customer will not face or the partners will not face any kind of the challenges or the difficulty in terms of the technical support. We also support our client through the world-leading technologies and the vendors, which covers 360-degree angle of the cybersecurity. Okay, so now today we will be exploring the features for the VIPRE email security and the SafeSend, which will be focusing how we are staying ahead of the ever-evolving threats. Thanks to the VIPRE team for the continued and the consistent support. I also would like to thank Mr. Jibu, the CEO of Cybersecurity, for onboarding the VIPRE in our journey. So from VIPRE, we have Mr. Oliver, the Director of Product Management for the VIPRE, and he will make us walk through the VIPRE powerful solution that protects the organization from evolving email threats and the accidental data leakage. So all while ensuring compliances and the easy of use. Oliver, I would be handing over to you for the complete deck and we can proceed ahead. I would request to all the team members, if you have any queries, so you can just write that particular queries into the chat. Yeah, Oliver, it's over to you now.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction, Manili. Yeah, hi, my name's Oliver Paterson. I am the Director of Product Management here at VIPRE Security Group. I've worked in email security and specifically the email side for 14 years now. So what I'll be doing is kind of running through a little bit of history about VIPRE. I'll also run you through our solutions. I'll give a quick demonstration at the end, and then we will have a Q&A as well. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, please do so in the Q&A section within the platform, and we can make sure that we go through those questions. But can everyone see my screen? Manili, can you see my screen okay?
Oh, yeah, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'll just give you a little bit of history about VIPRE Security Group. So we're part of a larger organization. VIPRE Security Group is the cybersecurity arm of a company called Ziff Davis. We're on the NASDAQ. We've got some other very large brands, but I always like to go over this just to show kind of how VIPRE Security Group is a very secure company. It's not like we're going to disappear or go anywhere. And it also allows us to make sure that we're not kind of funded by any venture capitalists or anything like that, where it's all about kind of growing those profits and not being profitable business. We're growing, and it gives us that stability to keep reinvesting in the development of our products, which allows us to kind of stay at the forefront of security and technology. We, as a group, are in quite a few different areas, but we're kind of going to be focusing mainly the webinar and some of the statistics and data on our email security side and one of our employee elements. But we are also heavily in the endpoint detection side of things as well. So we've got full next-gen AV, EDR, full MDR service as well. We're in email archiving, not just the email security, so the storage side of things. Our email security solution also has an element of DLP. We're in the employee training and education sector as well, so things like security awareness training. Our SafeSend product, which is more around data leakage awareness, so making sure your users are aware of maybe things that they're sending externally that may include sensitive information. And then we're also on the threat side of things as well. So we've actually been in endpoint and email security for over 30 years now. So we were founded in 1994 for both our endpoint and email security technologies. And what that means is we've got a lot of experience in the industry. We've been around a long time, and that allows us to stay at the forefront. Also, that history and legacy has allowed us to kind of use that expertise just to make sure that we're not only able to secure against the new threats that are emerging, but all of those old existing threats that were happening as well. So we don't fit into kind of a niche of only looking at kind of the newer stuff. We also have that element of the old stuff. I also like to take a moment to just let people know about our threat technology. I like to kind of call it our brain, because our endpoint and our email solutions kind of heavily rely on it. So we've been in the machine learning, or we can call it AI technology, for around 15 years now. We were the first commercially available sandbox, a system called CW Sandbox. And what that's meant is that, one, again, we've got that expertise in that area. So it means that our systems are built with efficiency and also have a high efficacy and detection rate. But also it meant that we've also allowed those systems to learn and become very efficient through the large amount of data that we've had. So we've had over 18 years worth of data fed into that machine learning and AI system, right? So these systems have allowed us to do it to make sure that the solution is up to scratch. Is why we have a very high retention rate and satisfaction rate. So we have over a 90% satisfaction and retention rate for our solution, and we're also heavily in a lot of markets as well. But we've got a lot of unique IP as well that we own. So our solution is based off our own technology. I'll just quickly go over, we win many awards. We're classed as a major player. We're also a strategic leader. You can see in this bottom left-hand corner one that we come out in terms of the highest in terms of prevention and response, but also total cost of ownership as well. We make very efficient solutions, both in terms of the solution itself being very efficient and very good at detections, but also a very cost-effective solution as well. We can see here that we're greater than some of the very well-known organizations such as CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Kaspersky, ESET on the EDR side. And that just shows kind of the efficacy of our agents. And in this top one, you can see people like Cisco were in the same ballpark as them, and CrowdStrike's this bigger dot as well. So again, we're always going to be staying well ahead. And also on our security awareness training, we're the most awarded in terms of our content there. And SafeSend, we're always classed as a leader in the data loss DLP space, but we like to call it awareness because it's more around giving your users a little bit more information and awareness. But what we'll be going through today, I'll go over an overview of kind of our ATP solution. I'll also introduce our SafeSend solution, some of the key benefits of it, and then I'll do a live demo of both of the systems with some use cases, and then we can have that Q&A at the end. So I always enjoy answering questions that people have. So always please raise your hand and put those questions in the Q&A section, and we can make sure that they're boxed off at the end. So the evolving threat landscape, right? So what we've seen in the market and what we're seeing year on year is this increase in malware and threats. And actually, we can see here from the statistic from the latest Verizon data breach report is that 94% of all malware is actually delivered via email, right? So email is the starting point for organizations or for bad actors, I should say, to try and get into your organization. It's one of the easiest with the economies of scale and the transformation of digital spaces. It's become a lot cheaper for them to do it as well. So they're able to send out millions and billions of emails every day that contain this malware. We also see from the reports that human error is a big issue as well, that 82% of breaches are now coming through human error. So what we've seen is this kind of simultaneous area where a lot of those errors are coming from misdelivered emails and issues around emails. So kind of this combination of two, one of the biggest threat vectors, but also one of the biggest disseminations of data leakage and data information. Ransomware attacks, they're still on the increase, right? Year on year, they are increasing. That can be due to these transformations, but with the advancements in artificial intelligence and other systems, it's made it very easy to create zero-day attacks, right? We're seeing actually more zero-day attacks now than known threats, right? So those traditional methods that people used to use to protect themselves through traditional AVs and different systems aren't able to protect you as much. So a lot of these net new ransomware attacks are new solutions. And that kind of need for more advanced protection and user verification, right? So what we're seeing is that people are having to put in more layered protection. So put in more layers into their protected network. We're seeing some organizations even have 3 different email security providers to make sure that they're hitting that main form of attack vector, right, which is email. So what is VIPRE ATP? So ATP is our is an acronym, actually. ATP is for our advanced threat protection on our email security solution. So it's a cloud email security solution, a platform that also can secure endpoints, but we're talking about the email security side predominantly today. But what we're doing is using advanced threat detections to provide greater protection for your email environments. And we do that through a series of key features, which is we have a behavioral analysis engine. We've got real-time threat intelligence that goes into it. We do full sandboxing and advanced attachment scanning. So that'll even look into things like QR codes. We look into zip files. So for recursive zip, and it opens a file that has a link in it, we follow the link. We also do dynamic and real-time URL scanning. So what that means is that we are actually actively browsing the website. So we open it up in an isolated environment every time a user clicks a link to go and scan very layers deep to make sure that we are giving that protection. And then the full anti-phishing impersonation protection. We do also have full DLP built into the solution as well. What we have is one of the most granular and advanced, what we call policy engines, which essentially means that you can kind of search emails for content and information anywhere within an email to create policies and how you want us to interact with it. Do you want us to quarantine it, notify people? So ATP has been developed over the last, I'd say 16, 17 years in its current format, which means it's a very robust system. It's been built with a lot of our clients' needs and requirements. So making sure that we are kind of hitting those elements and those points that people need. So why choose VIPRE ATP, right? So we're one of the best in terms of stopping those zero-day attacks, right? And because of it being a edge-based solution, we're stopping them before it reaches the user, right? So what we're doing is using those advanced technologies and that insight and knowledge that we built up over the last 30 years to be able to stop those zero-day attacks. And as we're seeing from those statistics that we see, zero-day attacks are now the primary method that people are trying to use and attack your organization, and making sure you're staying ahead of those. So when we start to see trends, or we start to see threats in the wild, one, because we get to see a large amount of data, and our threats and our labs team are very good at that. So a very good example was that we started to see a 0.5% increase in the traffic that we were seeing was containing QR codes. We were able to implement a new QR code scanning functionality within a very short space of time. And then what we did actually see was in the subsequent following months after we did see that 0.5 increase, we actually saw it go up to 5%. And considering the amount of email traffic we see, that was a large amount of emails. Now, using QR codes as one of the methods of attacking organizations, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but actually when you are processing billions and billions of emails every single month, that contributes to quite a lot of the traffic being used. But what that shows is our agility to be able to defend against these net new threats that we see in the marketplace. And by being part of VIPRE Security Group and the Ziff Davis Group, it does allow us to have that agility and ability to change things very quickly. And that's something I'm very proud of with not only my team, but our engineering team, that we can, when we see trends and changes in the market, adapt and move a lot quicker than some of those larger organizations that have much stricter processes that they have to go through and change processes. So we normally see the time compared to our competitors that we're able to actually put in those new features and new securities a lot quicker than them. All our solutions are cloud native. So on the security side, it makes it that it's very scalable, and we can take the benefits of obviously having that element of speed there. So it doesn't matter if we see one day our traffic increase by 3,000%, our system's able to scale and able to protect organizations, because we have no idea what's going to happen, right? In the security landscape, we could see a massive increase in email. We see spam waves, right? They go up and down. So our email traffic does have to be able to scale up and down as we need. The system can be integrated within any mail system, right? Because we're on the edge, we can point the traffic to any mail system, as long as you own your DNS records to point the traffic to us and you have a location for us to send it to, we can do. But another key area that people kind of don't put as much value to is also making sure that even though you have advanced technologies and a lot of advanced systems, what you need to do is make sure that your systems remain simple to deploy, right? And also very easy to manage. So what you're wanting to do is have all this advanced technology in the background and it all working to protect your organization, but you're still wanting to make it easy to use. And what we found was, because our systems are very good and we provide deployment assistance when onboarding new clients, is that a lot of organizations very rarely come into our system. So it could be a month or two before they next come in. So what we wanted to do was make it easy for them to use, right? They may forget where things are, but if you make an intuitive platform, it means that they're not having to relearn how to use the system. So what we've tried to always do with our platforms and systems is make it very easy for them to be able to go in and manage the solution if it has been a while since they've come in. So just some real life scenarios, how ATP works and how it helps you. So phishing attacks, right? Phishing emails can be just an email with some text in it, could be a link within there. What we use is real-time threat intelligence, but also kind of our dynamic scanning as well to help with that. So we're always keeping our databases, our rule-based systems always updated, so that we can help protect you against those phishing emails that they're trying to gain some confidence level in talking to you. Those unknown files, those zero-day threats, right? We're using our sandboxing technology that we've developed over the last 18 years to analyze those files. So we work on a zero trust model here. So every time that we see something new, we'll be putting it through it. And what we do with URLs is even go an element further, because URLs are dynamic in nature. The content from me clicking at the beginning of this webinar to me clicking now could be very different. Payloads could be put on it. So we work on a zero trust model there as well. So every time a user clicks a link, we will actually rescan it. So some of the competitors out there, to reduce costs, will have things like known safe lists. That can be a list of domains that they say, okay, they're well known, they should be safe. But also some of the well-known organizations out there, I won't name them, but will only go a certain level deep on redirects. So they won't, if you redirect the URL, say 5 or more times, they won't actually continue to the end site. Also, things like direct downloads on links people will do, whereas what we do is we follow those redirects. If it downloads a file that maybe has a link within that file, then we'll also scan that. So we've taken the security conscious route with our detections. Yes, some of those may take a little bit more time because we're doing that dynamic scanning, but we believe in making sure that you're actually going to a web page that is safe, rather than trying to cut corners that could mean that it's going to allow your users to be able to click through to a threat. And then we've also got things like executive spoofing alerts triggered to IT admins, right? So what we can do is make some notifications to tell your organization when specific actions are happening, and to make you more aware of kind of what's happening within an organization, right? So part of it is, yes, we can do all these detections, but also letting you know kind of, are there some areas that maybe you need to focus on, maybe change up? It could be that your executive's email is on a website somewhere that's now allowing it to be scraped and pulled and making them a target. Maybe that's something that you want to look into finding and removing, essentially. So that's kind of a very high level overview of the email security side. I'll go into our SafeSend solution now. So this is more kind of talking about insider threat, but specifically down to the accidental data leakage problem. So because we have been in email security for 30 years and have a DLP solution through that on the edge, what we were seeing when we were speaking to some of our larger clients and larger organizations was that these DLP solutions, they are very effective, but they can also create a lot of friction and a lot of noise for IT teams and organizations. So when we were talking to them, when they were going to the user and saying, okay, we've had an alert, we've had an incident arise, and that an email has been stopped or triggered one of these rules, when they've gone to the end user to say, why have you done this? Why have you tried to send sensitive information out to the organization? A lot of the time they come back and go, oh, I wasn't aware. I thought I removed that information. I'm a good employee. I didn't mean to do that, right? So what we found was actually, if we could create a notification and get the user to be more part of that security posture, we could effectively reduce those incidents, but also make the organization a little bit more secure and stop this dissemination of accidental data leakage through those means. So we worked with some of our larger organizations to help build the solution. And we've now built up over 70 different use cases. We've got over 400 enterprise organizations using this solution now. But what we're seeing in the market as well is that regulatory bodies are starting to become more and more aware of the risks of accidental data leakage through email. Not only are they very aware that threats are coming through it, but also it's the main form of data exfiltration for an organization. So you kind of have a few ways of data exfiltration happening. It could be through an attack and someone's got access to your systems, but a lot of the time as well, it can be just out of human error. Users accidentally sending something to the wrong person or including information they didn't mean to the wrong individual. And what we're seeing is that that's becoming more prevalent, and organizations starting to see that, especially these third-party review organizations and organizations that make security directives. So here in the UK, the ICO actually says that 90% of data breaches, right, are caused by human error of some part. And in the top 3 of those is misdirected email, right? And people will talk around these issues in loads of different ways, right? They're not brilliant, these directives and organizations of saying you have to get this type of solution, but they kind of hint at it. So we can see here in Europe with NIS2 and DORA directives, there's an emphasis on this risk management, right? And making sure that people are putting in measures and trainings and other systems to try and reduce the issues around human error, right? But what they'll put is that they need to put in clear policies and procedures around sensitive email data handling, right? Recipient verification or email address accuracy. They're not calling out that people are sending things to the wrong person. You need to put something there. But these are all hints at, okay, these are areas that you need to look at. So NIST has in their Article 21 those specific keywords, right? They also have in Article 23 that you need to report these unintentional email leakages. So again, because you're having to report them and there's possibly fines and issues associated to them, you need to be putting in solutions that maybe stop it, right? You don't want to just have to be reporting every time it happens. You want to put in a solution to stop it and detect it at source. And then in DORA, they use the words unintentional email data leakage, right? So that is that accidental sending, that misaddressed email. So this is a problem that we actually saw. We started developing this solution kind of 8-9 years ago. So this is something that we saw quite a while ago, but it's only in the last year or so. You can see here that some of the Departments of Defense in the US, they sent around an email around it. This was only a year ago, right? So what we're seeing is this starting to become more of an issue mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah. Oliver, we have some questions from the participants. The first one is
should we do Q&A at the end?
Surely we can do that. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the Mohammed, Nidal and Tausif, we will be replying to your questions at the end of the webinar. Yeah, you can continue, Oliver.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, so where does the issue come from, right? So I've kind of gone over a little bit of the case studies or some of the organizations, but when we start delving deeper into the numbers, it's quite interesting, right? So email has become the primary form of communication for organizations now. It has been probably for a while, but what we saw was this kind of got accelerated with COVID. People working from home, email became the main form of communication between people, right? So now we're seeing that around nearly 10,000 emails on average, every single employee in the world now sends, and it's very easy for just one of those to be sent in error due to working from home and other issues that we've seen, kind of distractions that's the case. But what was more interesting when we started surveying some of our clients and our customers was that actually 60% of employees, or nearly 60% of employees, will admit that they've sent an email to the wrong person at some point in their working life. I will hold up my hand. I've done it more than once before we had this solution, right? It's very easy to include the wrong person, autocomplete, other means, right? But sometimes that one email can have a very high detriment to the business. GDPR fines and reputational damage. I've had organizations come to me and it's not even been sensitive information that's caused them an issue. It's just they've accidentally included an external body, a client, in an email chain that they weren't aware of, and the way they were talking, because they thought it was an internal email, caused some element of reputational damage, and they've lost clients due to it. So there's quite a few areas that we can help with it. But what normally happens when somebody does unintentionally send something to the wrong person, or kind of has some of this data leakage? Very often that the employee doesn't even know they've done it, right? So if we use one of my experiences, it was that it wasn't until I started going, why hasn't that person got back to me? I sent them an email a week ago and they're normally pretty responsive. Why haven't they emailed me back? You then check your sent items to check one that you sent the email. Oh yeah, I sent the email. Oh, I sent it to the wrong person. Okay, that's why it's nothing. That's why he hasn't replied to me. It's the wrong person. He probably knows nothing about this. So he's probably very confused, right? Many, if they do realize they've made a mistake, do nothing and hope it's okay. So one of the issues is with this problem is that it can have a very much an embarrassment factor. People are embarrassed that they've sent something to the wrong person, so they try and sweep it under the rug. They try and pretend it didn't happen. They won't tell anyone. So when you speak to IT leaders, CISOs, They may say, oh no, we never hear of this problem. It's probably happening. It's just that you're not being made aware of it. And I've had IT individuals say, oh yeah, we don't have this problem. And then I'll ask them, okay, has anybody ever come and asked you to see if you can pull an email back? And they're like, oh yeah, that happens now and then. And normally that's because they're wanting to pull something back because they've done something wrong, right? And then when you ask them, oh, why is it? They're like, oh no, it doesn't matter if you can't do it, right? And then some people will send a follow-up email asking the person not to look at it or delete the message, right? I'm sure we've probably all received those at some point, but due to human nature, obviously everyone's going to look at it and be like, why does it not want me to look at it? But dependent on what content or what information's in these emails, there can be quite serious consequences. So if it is that there's a breach and there's some compliance, then there could be fines associated. There's PR, so a lot of marketing effort, maybe if it's reputational damage that's done, litigation. Cyber insurance premiums increase, right? You have one of these breaches, it could cost you some money. You may have to make a claim with your cyber insurance. And what we're seeing is premiums are increasing all the time, especially with some of the latest attacks that have happened that we're expecting cyber insurance premiums to increase massively. So making sure that you're putting in solutions to try and reduce the risk of it is going to be really important to help get those cyber insurance quotations as low as possible. Other consequences, it makes work for the IT and InfoSec teams, right? They're having to deploy stricter DLP rules on these systems that create more friction, more false positives. It's going to create more work for the IT team. And then maybe it's that you're having to deploy some additional training, additional knowledge base to the users. And we all know you'll provide this training and then within a few months, they've probably forgotten about it, right? So what a large number of organizations don't actually know is, okay, they don't realize what the root cause of the error is. And this just basically results in ongoing operational issues, that the issue keeps happening more and more, and greater employee dissatisfaction, right? You put in more blockers and more kind of hurdles to jump over to just send an email. So what we tried to do with SafeSend is create a solution that kind of fixes all of these. It doesn't create an additional IT burden, also doesn't increase spending through fines, litigation, and other issues. It's a very affordable solution, but also that the employees kind of, rather than the stick-based approach, you've done something bad, you're a bad employee. What we're trying to do is give them tools to be more effective member of the organization. So we've built up over 70 use cases over the 10 years of data that we've got, but here are just a few of the main ones, right? And you'll probably resonate with some of them. Things like autocomplete errors, right? Autocomplete, great tool within Outlook, but it can also mean that I can click the wrong person. When I show you the demo, you just have to start typing, you get millions of options, right? People with similar names, both internally and externally. You could think that you're sending an email to an internal person and it's the external John Smith or John Simpson. Reply all mistakes. I have emails where I've got 10, 15 people in the reply all. Have I checked every single one of those to make sure it's not an external individual? Not always. Have I read all the emails when I've just been included in a email chain with over 20 emails? Have I checked there's no sensitive information before maybe forwarding that email chain to somebody because the latest email had some relative information? Again, very easy to do. Email thread confusion as well. People might forget to do CCC or BCC. We have settings for that to make sure that sensitive information or recipients isn't going to them. Muscle memory. Again, if someone frequently sends an email to a specific person, I have it where I speak to somebody called Andrea all the time. If I put A in, she's normally the first one that comes up, right? If I start talking to someone new, it's going to be somebody different. But also those external factors, right? Not only the systems that we're using causing some of these errors to happen, but also those external factors. I spoke earlier around how email's more prevalent, right? Multitasking, distractions. We're working from home now a little bit more. Kind of this hybrid work environment is key to a lot of organizations. I could get distracted, right? It could be the dog or the family member or somebody is distracting you. You walk away from your desk for a second, come back, and then you're thinking you're writing a different email to a different person. And fatigue and stress, right? We're all under immense amounts of stress now to do more with less. but this can, and availability of email, right? I work very early mornings like now to help organizations in UAE and the Middle East. And then I'll be on a meeting tonight at probably 7, 8 o'clock my time as well, kind of working 12-hour days sometimes, working with all these organizations. It can cause fatigue. It can mean that, okay, our mind isn't operating optimum all the time, and can mean that I've created these mistakes. So what we believe in is this kind of layered defense, right? With email security being at the forefront of that issue around threats coming in. So that first slide that I showed around kind of the evolving threat market, 94% of threats or malware comes through email, right? You need to protect the incoming with the email, but also that human error, right? A lot of data breaches are through human error. So what we're trying to do is provide these two solutions. So the email security and then that human verification layer on outbound. So by combining the two, you're creating a completer layer of protection through this layered approach, right? And we talk about layered defense, where you may have 3 or 4 email security providers, but also having that additional layer of detection and prevention on the outbound as well, and data leakage on that external outbound communication is becoming more and more important. So we're reducing the risk of both your external and internal threat portfolio and basis. What I'll do is I'll do a quick demo now, kind of show you some of those key features. And then what we can do is cover off those questions. I can see more questions keep coming in more and more, which is great. I love questions because so I may actually give us a little bit more time to go through those questions than we were originally going to do. So I'll kind of go over some key features within our solution and portal. I did log in. Let's check. I'm going to have to log in again to my portal just because it's been a while since I logged in, which means that I will have to put in my credentials again. Just wait a second. So if I pull that across, hopefully you can still see my screen. Is that okay? Can you now see the portal?
Oh, yes, it's visible audible.
Okay, that's perfect. So what I'll do is I'll go through a few key areas. I won't do a full kind of demonstration because that normally takes me 45 minutes to an hour alone just to go through it, because there's a lot of areas, but I'll go over some key areas, all right? So what I'm showing you here is kind of what we call our Threat Explorer. It's an analytical area where you can come in and kind of explore the things that were blocked. This is my test account, by the way, so it doesn't represent real live data. It's just a load of test data that I put into it. But it will show you kind of how quickly and easily we can analyze, detect things, and give you some insight into the solution. But it's very easy to be able to drill down. So we can drill down into specific days, right, and pick, and it's all dynamic and very quick and easy. We can see what the attack vectors were there, malicious documents, zip files, EXEs, who the recipients and senders of those were. I can choose whether it was our sandboxing technology or our threat intelligence that was stopping it. When we click on the threats, it will give me the data and information. I can go straight to VirusTotal if I want to. Can see all the information, where the source was, where it's sending from, and check all of those elements, right? And I can always release it if there is a false positive. I can report it to us if you want some more analysis done on it, allow and deny as well. So our system's built around quick and ease of getting to information and knowledge around these areas. So I'm just using this, but we have these analytical areas for policies that you're putting in. So that could be DLP rules, could be routing rules. You can see kind of what's happening. We've got one specifically on link analysis, what's happening on links. But what we've tried to do with link analysis is slightly different as well. What we also provide you is a screenshot of the link. So if we determine something as malicious through our dynamic scanning, what we found again, what VIPRE tries to do is provide information to the user to make them part of your security organization. So on links, a lot of people's systems will just say, this is a bad link, we're not letting you go to it, right? It creates a warning. What we actually do is tell them, we're not letting you go here, it's trying to steal credentials, it's trying to do this, trying to do that. We also show a screenshot. Because we're dynamically looking at the page and actually looking where it's going to, we take a snapshot of it to provide it to the user so that they can go, yes, this isn't the Microsoft login page that I was expecting. And we also provide micro learning at that point as well, because they clicked a bad link, right? If we can teach them why they shouldn't have clicked it in the first place, we can help your security posture there. So it's kind of this three-layered approach. One, we're protecting them. Two, we're allowing them to kind of have an element of verification. And then two, we're then educating them and giving them some actionable information on it. And we provide the admin also with that screenshot so that they can look into it. But one of the other areas that we've tried to really hone in on is also providing admins and security individuals with additional tools to be able to investigate things. So one of the unique things we also provide is full remote browser isolation. So if I can put any link into here. Also, if a link is stopped by our system, you can automatically go to this, and it creates another browsing session, right? So, but it's an isolated environment. You can see where I'm actually going is the RBI at VIPRE, but I'm browsing Google. I can show the logs. So if I wanted to go to the BBC website, obviously there's the capture. Seems to be very good there, but what I can do is then browse the website to my heart's content. You can see it's very quick. This would allow me to analyze whether a web page is safe or not for the user to be able to go to, right? And by doing that, I'm giving the admin a tool to be able to investigate and make a decision very quickly and easily without having to maybe have an isolated environment within their own setup. We've also, as I said, tried to make things very easy to set up. So that advanced sandboxing technology on files, literally it is a tick box to say, yes, I want these files to be analyzed. Also dependent on how large the file is, whether there's redirects to loads of websites and things. Sometimes this process of analyzing these pages and websites can take a little bit of time. So do you want to send the user a notification to say maybe an email's delayed? This system works very quickly. I talked about earlier that we make systems that are very efficient. It's why a lot of the large security providers around the world also utilize our technologies. But if it was going to take more than a minute, then do you want us to send an email to say there's been an email delayed due to this, just so that they know where it is? Our link isolation, again, very easy to turn on. You click a button, say rewrite the URL so that it can be sent to us. And then do you want us to do that dynamic crawling of the web page, right? And here it says enable feature like URL categorization, screenshots, previews of malicious websites. So we can build all of those things into it. So what we've tried to do is develop it very easy so you can deploy very quickly, get that protection very quickly, find the data within the system if you need to. And then we've also got our rules-based system. So we call it our advanced policies, but I will quickly show you how granular this system is. So I've been doing demonstrations of this system for well over 10 years now. And I will say that 99% of the time, when somebody asks me, can we build a specific rule or policy within our system, I can say probably yes, right? And it is a very granular system. So what you do is build a rule. You can choose whether it's going to be for incoming or outgoing messages. Who's it going to apply to? Is it all my domains, or is it just specific users and groups? So who's it going to apply to? And then rules. This is what were we looking for in an email, right? So we have all these criteria. We've got everything in here, from who it's to, from, subjects, message content, body of emails, attachment, content count, extension type, size, IP addresses like TLS versions, and depends on if it's an incoming or outgoing message. These detections change, right? Just by the nature of emails, of it coming inbound versus outbound will change that. So we can build these up and we can say, okay, contains anything. So you can put regular expressions in there, exact matches, and how many times does it come up? We can then use an AND rule to say, okay, it has to hit this one and this one. We've also got the ability to do OR rulings. We can put a point totaling system assigned to each of the rules. And then if it exceeds a certain point, then that's the trigger, or is less than a certain point system. Or we've got one which is just all messages. So this would be all incoming messages. What do we want? But if we just keep it as the and one, and then the action. So once we've detected something, what do you want us to do with it? And then we've got a load of options in here as well. So we can add subject tags, we can add banners, we can add footers, we can forward mail somewhere else, we can send an email notification, so we don't want users to think things have gone to the wrong person. Send to the sandbox. We can strip attachments out if you want to. We can make headers COCO compliant. That's just stripping a header down to the only necessary information, or quarantine and stop, right? Very easy to do. What we also found was testing the policies, right? Finding out whether it's going to stop when you have a specific incident happen or something happen was really important to us. So what we've done is also put in a testing policy. So any email that's come into our system, you can test and check whether it's going to now trigger on those. And then you can go into our analytics and you can see all the emails that have been stopped with this. You could also have rules in place where maybe you decide to have it in a monitor mode. Okay, maybe I'm looking for sensitive information. Maybe it's credit card information. So what we can choose is here to say, actually, if we say message content, that includes everything, contains a security, includes a credit card, sorry, then, okay, I may not want to set a quarantine rule. I just want to see if people are sending it out, but I may want to say notify an admin, right? I can notify using a template, and you can build up as many different templates you want to have customization. You can choose who the sender name is, what the sender's email address is, who the recipient is, subject. You can use some of the policy tags to maybe make it so that you know what the message is, who the policy is, make it easy for the admin to find. And then we've also built up a data list. So within the policies, you do have data lists. We've built out loads for things like executable files. You can see the list here, and you can duplicate any of these, edit them, change them, customize them to whatever you want. We work with a lot of healthcare organizations, so we have a lot of the human diseases and their code names in here as well. So we built up a lot of data lists to make it easier for you maybe to build out some of those policies that you may want to do. The system's been made very easy to use. So we've deployed this solution to organizations of 20, 30,000 users within a weekend. We've even done it to local councils and government organizations the week before they've hosted things like the G20 summit. And we help them with that onboarding process. So at VIPRE, we believe in helping with onboarding, but also that we don't have different levels of support. We just give you the best level of support we can straight away. And it's why we have some of our high retention numbers, is because we do try and help organizations as much as possible. I will now, so that's kind of a high level overview of some of the features. And if there are, when we come to the Q&A, if there are any questions in this area, I can always pop back into the system. But what I'll do now is I will go over to my SafeSend demonstration, but I do just need to just go in and check something really quickly on that side. Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll pull over my Outlook. Can people see my Outlook okay? I'm just very aware with these demos sometimes. Yeah,
we can see it, Ollie.
Yeah, so SafeSend, as we spoke about, is all about this recipient verification, right? So helping your users determine whether they should or shouldn't be sending an email externally. So it works within Outlook natively. So when somebody clicks to create a new email, what we'll do is send out, just put test in here and test again, and who it's to. So I'll just put Oliver at client 2, Oliver at client 1. You can see it very easy for me to pick the wrong person, right? Because options do come up for these individuals. John client3.com. Right, so maybe I've included the wrong person in here. So when I click send, what happens is the SafeSend pops up. So what it's doing is just telling me I'm sending to multiple external recipients. So every time there's an external domain in here, it'll be in a different color. We can see that client 3 and client 1 are in different colors to client 2. And what it's doing is essentially creating a delay or a stop between the user clicking send and it going to the outbox. So this isn't going to affect any other DLP systems you've got, any other email archiving storage solutions, anything like that. So we can work with other solutions. It doesn't cause an issue. But one of the things is that it's completely customizable. We can create rules to make sure the pop-up's only appearing when you want it to. So it could be only if there's multiple external recipients, only if there's attachments, only if there's sensitive information included in the email, right? So what you can do is come in here and you can put those in place. But one of the handy and unique features as well is every bit of text in here is customizable. So you can change the wording, change the logo, have your own logo in there if you want to. And what you can also do with it is start reminding people of maybe security postures. You can have a link to your security organization. So I'll just quickly change the way the pop-up looks, and it'll only take a second. So I'll just go in here, add in a policy link, right? So let's just, I always use google.com as my example, but if we now go back and we go back to this email, and I try and send, you can see that it's got that. That's a link, could be to your internal security policy, but that's just opening a web page to Google. Right, and you can customize this to have the link go wherever you want. You can change the text to say whatever you'd like. You can add additional lines of text, change the coloring, have it underlined in bold, whatever you need. We can make sure that we're covering that. And we can search the email as well, right, for sensitive content. So I'm just going to go in and check whether yeah, we've got a rule looking for the word confidential, right? So this could be within any file, within any part of the email, right, with the way that ruling. So if I just put confidential in, what I'll do, it's scanning the email to then check. And you can see how quick it is, right? The system is very, very quick. It's not going to create a huge delay for users, but it's going to get them realizing, okay, this email has sensitive information in it. We actually had one financial organization do an analysis on their data of before and after they implemented SafeSend. And what they actually saw was quite interesting statistics, was that not only was SafeSend stopping people accidentally sending information to the wrong person, sensitive information, but they actually saw a 60% drop in sensitive information in general being sent. And they put that down to, by notifying a user that there's sensitive information in an email, it will actually make them think twice of whether that sensitive information is needed within that email. So what we've seen is actually that people go, oh, does this email actually need that sensitive information? And they'll actually, more likely than not, remove sensitive information, even when they're a privileged individual that can send sensitive information out. And that kind of has a twofold effect. One, obviously, great that people are looking and checking their emails a bit better. But two, it stops any sensitive information being on other people's systems. So sometimes data breaches happen of your sensitive information through a third party that you use. It could be a financial organization that you work with, or it could be another business that you have a very close relationship with but send sensitive information to. If they have a breach, the more information that you have on their systems and within their emails, the more chance that if they have a breach that information is going to be seen and found. So that is also helping reduce your risk portfolio area, your data risk area, landscape, essentially. And we can put in any rules, any systems. It doesn't have to be exact matches. It can be regular expressions. Again, through our deployment process, what we'll do is help you build out the systems and build out any rules base to make sure that the system is developing and making sure it's hitting your needs. We also work with our organizations. If you become a customer of ours, what we do is we have regular meetings with our clients to find out any needs or any changes that we have to do. Again, agility is kind of a core of VIPRE's philosophy. So not only when we see trends and changes on the threat market, but also we speak to our organizations here. I have regular calls with clients to see if there's any settings or changes that we can add or any features that we can add to the solution. And we're very agile with that. So some organizations were able to put in unique features for them within even as short as a 2-week time frame that we've been able to achieve before. So if there is kind of a unique use case here, then that is something that we can do as well for you. And we can also create these rules not only for external, but also internal. So HR people are a prime example of this. They have very sensitive information on employee data and information. If they were sending that to the wrong person internally, that could cause an issue. So we can create rules to help with that. If I go into the rules-based assessment engine, again, I won't go over it in a huge amount of detail. What I'd ask is that you set up a full demonstration with us. But you can see within here, we've got hundreds of rules in here to make things happen. So we've got things like pop-up external attachments, internal recipients, multiple external domains, multiple domains. So we've got loads of different settings, treat as external, treat as unsafe. We've got things like trigger encryption, where we work with the local encryption. We can also use localized language. So that's probably a really key feature for this call, because what happens is we can either detect on localized language of Outlook. So whatever the user's using as their language for Outlook, we'll then convert it into that language, the pop-up. Or we can do it based on a specific language that you pick for your organization. So we do work with a lot of organizations in the Middle East, as we also had a client just come on based out of Israel. And the reason they picked us was actually because our pop-up could be in Hebrew and also very similar to your language in Arabic, that the language switches from being read left to right to left, and our solution does all of that. So we can make it as familiar as possible as you want for your organization as well. So that as well is quite a unique feature to us. This is a very unique solution. There's only about 3 or 4 other people that do something along these lines in the market and are able to do it to the scale that we do. But we have tried to make sure that we are covering that. We're a global organization. We have probably customers in most regions, if not most countries, and kind of that flexibility for us is also paramount. I know we're hitting the hour mark, and I can see we've got quite a few questions, so I want to make sure that we can box those off in enough time. So what I'll do is I'll kind of finish the demo at this point, and we'll start going through the questions. It may be that I need to jump around some of those areas anyway. So I don't know if you want to start asking some of those questions.
I think maybe we can you can reply to some of the questions in the chat, Ollie. There is some question there. We can mark
or else we can do in a way, I can read out the question, so you can just answer for that particular question.
Yeah.
So I'll try and bring up some of the questions then as we go along. I can see one of them is, do we integrate with iPower? So we don't have a direct integration with the solution iPower, but the way that our email security solution works, as long as you have some control of the DNS either through a third party or not, so you can get your what's called an MX record pointed to us. So it'll be currently pointed to a mail system of some description. As long as you can get it pointed to us, and if you get your mail system through iPower and they allow you to know kind of the location of where that needs to be pointed to, which they should through DNS records, then we're able to filter it. So we work with things like GoDaddy and things like that as well, and their mail systems. So just as long as we can have some way of pointing the traffic to us, and we can point the traffic to a mail provider, mail system, then yes, we can. does VIPRE have the ability to detect obfuscated malware? Yes. So malware uses a load of different techniques, right, to obfuscate or encrypt or protect data samples. So on our endpoint specifically, so kind of more the kind of detection of obfuscated malware normally happens on the endpoint, right? So it's looking at obfuscated code, some of those evaded detections and things. On the email side, obviously, we're detonating those files within our sandbox. So essentially what we're doing with the sandbox is we are creating an environment, and then we're detonating it. So if it was an exe file or a Word document that then downloaded malicious content or systems, then essentially it is using that dynamic sandboxing technology to check what's actually happening on the device. So the kind of like fileless malware. So as well, to make sure that we're detecting those different areas and those different codes that are masked. So yeah, the system can detect it both in terms of our endpoint solution, but also our email security solution as well. Okay. I can also see, can I have some information about mail archiving? I'm sure that's something that we can get some more information over on it. We do have a separate solution for our mail archiving. So it is based off journaling rule basis. So what we do is basically have a copy all rule within your mail environment. And the data sent to us, and it's stored in a secure compliance-based storage. Makes it very easy for both your users as well as your admins to be able to do searches on extremely large amounts of data. So I'm actually getting an import at the moment put into our archive for one organization, and they've got over 40 terabytes worth of email archiving, which is a sizable amount of email. But we're able to search that content within seconds, right, to find the information that they need to help with any compliance and data issues. Does it integrate with all platforms for email services? What is the user count to use VIPRE? So we don't have any minimum user counts per se. So we work with organizations as small as kind of 10 users all the way up into the hundreds of thousands, right? But it integrates with, as I say, it works with most email platforms. It's more what access do you have to those platforms. So some of the issues, if you've got a Gmail address, we can't work with Gmail, right? Because your domain, you don't have control to point your Gmail address's DNS records to us. As long as you own the domain and you have the ability to change the DNS records to point to ourselves. So the MX record points to us, so you have to have control of that DNS. And then we have somewhere we can send her on to, whether it's a smart host address, whether it is a specific IP. So I can actually bring up our portal, right? So when you're in the domain section, actually it's not in the domain section, it'll be in our inbound routing, right? So for the inbound routing, you create sites. So you can see here, there's a smart host IP address, could be any of these. So it's very easy to add a site, right? You add in the site, and then what you do is you add in the domain or IP, right? So that's smart host and then you can choose your preference. More the priority. So as long as we have that bit of information, we can work with your email mail provider, right? So as I said, we work with GoDaddy, we work with some of these other third parties. So there's some prerequisites there, but it's fine. Can we trace the full email lifecycle, including inbound and outbound paths to verify delivery to recipient? You can. So if I go into the message log, so this is where I showed you the analytics, but this is where all the raw data is held, right? Every email. And what we do is we do things slightly differently. We actually keep a copy of the email for 90 days. Some email security providers will scan the email, deliver it to your mail system, and then go, that's our job done. We've scanned it and checked it. If we see it's clean, we just deliver it. But what we do is we keep a copy as well. So there's kind of a temporary archive for 90 days within our email security solution, which means you can replay the message as well. But as you can see here, this was an email that was delivered. You can go and see those SMTP logs, which is what you're exactly talking about, which is including the incoming and outgoing path. So we can see here, okay, well, incoming, it came into us, where it came from, it was to and from the message ID, but then also that external delivery. So we delivered it to the mail system and what the resulting code was. So was it 250? Yeah, it got received, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a rejected mail code, right? So so you can get all that information very quickly and easily out of this system. I know some providers make it very difficult to find this information. We've tried to make it as easy as possible to go in and do your own analysis as a security individual of what happened to that mail. So yeah, that's fine. No, one of the questions is, does the solution, is it suitable for SMBs or only enterprise, and particularly users only? No. So what we try and do is we build enterprise grade solutions, but what we try and focus on is kind of hitting the mid-market, allowing more organizations to have access to these enterprise and these security solutions. So we really heavily focus on that. So we've got email. So our email security solution is utilized by some really small organizations, as I say, kind of 10, 15 users. And then some of our largest organizations are in the go up to 100,000 users, right? And it's been built on that premise that it can scale up and down as the needs of the business. So those SMB organizations that we work with now, in 10 years time, they could be an enterprise level organization. You don't want to build a solution where they're having to change, right? So the solution works. All right. How lightweight is the VIPRE agent on system resources? So we haven't really talked about our endpoint solution, but that's more the agent-based system, right? But if we're talking about the SafeSend solution and the Outlook add-in, that's one of the places where we actually did a lot of work on making sure it's lightweight, because Outlook, if you do make something a little bit too heavy, it does automatically disable add-ins. And also if you've got quite a few add-ins, that can also cause an issue. So when we were working with one of our large banks that has 130,000 users running through SafeSend, they were testing it on really old machines, really outdated operating systems, and trying to break it basically to see if there was an issue with system resource. And they came back to us and said it was quite surprising, it just worked, right? They thought they were going to be able to come to us and say there was an issue with it. So that system's been made to be very lightweight. And also on the endpoint and EDR side, so if we're talking about endpoint agents and endpoint security, it's been built around very light system resource usage. Again, that is kind of paramount for it. A lot of the competitors can be quite heavy on that side, so we have tried to make it as easy as possible. Does VIPRE protect against phishing attacks that use QR codes? Yes. I spoke about earlier how we saw those trends changing, right? So we developed that solution, right? It was something that we were quickly able to do, and we both look at QR codes within the body of the email, but also if somebody had an attachment with a Word document with an image of the QR code, we'll scan that as well. It's not just if the image is in the body of the email. If it's an image attached to the email, we will check those QR codes as well. So giving you that greater protection. Does it check the email history and alert if there is a change in the email / look-alike emails? So in the edge-based solution that I've just shown you, we look at email history in terms of, okay, is there any malicious content or anything like that? And we do train our systems on the data, right, to check whether you've spoken to the person, not, and they kind of all come into the calculations to kind of what scoring in the back end we give it. But we are actually coming out with what we're calling our integrated email security, which actually is a new solution. We'll probably be doing a webinar on that in pretty soon in the next few months. And what that's doing is utilizing some new AI detection technologies. We built 4 new artificial intelligence engines that looks for things like sentiment analysis and things like that. And exactly what you're talking about there, kind of this man in the middle attack. So where somebody's maybe compromised an external mailbox, And then they change the tone and the way that they are communicating with you, right? Mid email chain detection, essentially. So that's something that's coming in that solution. It's integrated into Microsoft, so it's more API based. It can also look at internal emails, not just the incoming and outgoing that the edge-based solution we've gone over today does. So that may be something that you may be interested in having a look at. What is the price model and what features are included in different levels? We have two levels. We have our cloud and we have our ATP. ATP has everything. We've moved away from the add-in model. And whenever we come out with new features, our ATP, as it's the top of our line, just gets those new features put in there as well. And on the SafeSend side, we've got two versions. We've got standard version and one which we call DLP, which is that scanning of content for the sensitive information. We find most people go for that. And also on the email security, most people go for ATP now. On net new business, 92%, I think I looked at the statistics the other day, go for those top level packages, right? Because those 0-day threats and those elements, people want the sandboxing, the dynamic link analysis on that side. And then on the SafeSend side, everyone kind of wants that scanning of sensitive information. Does SafeSend work on email web access? Yes, it does. So the system that I went through today is just a locally installed version. So let me show you, because I do have, I believe in my test environment, I do have both versions. So when I'm using the end user one, that's using our locally installed version that you would install as a com add-in to the local version of Outlook. If I change over to Sales Engineer, what you'll see is it's actually sending a request to the backend. So that's using that new that web or what Microsoft call web add-in or modern add-in, right? So if I change this to use the new Outlook, that's what the premise is based off. So you can see it works here. It works within OWA, so Outlook Web Access, as well as Mac devices. So Mac can be quite difficult to work with. They don't like you messing around with stuff, right? So the web access or the web add-in is a way that we're able to do that. Does VIPRE email security have the capability to detect and flag attempts where a user tries to exfiltrate information by hashing it using and then sending it out via email to avoid detection? Yeah, we can. So what we can do is we can detect on those methods, right? So yeah, what we can do is build out those rule-based systems to put it in. As I say, we've got very granular solution for that purpose, right? That we can put in those rules to make sure that we're detecting on those multiple different factors. Also, we do have, talking about exfiltration, we have a password guessing system as well. So if people do encrypt and zip files, then we will try and put in the password for it as well, using both existing and historic emails that the user's been sending or receiving, so that we can make sure that we try and stop those exfiltrations of information as and when required as well. So I will always say that if people are trying to exfiltrate sensitive information and they are really trying to do it, obviously on a mass scale, it's quite difficult. But people are right to know, put it in their pocket, or they'll find ways to try and get around these systems. But we have the ability to put in from a technology standpoint as many of these stops and systems as possible. I think that's the 10, 12 questions that we've been asked. I don't know if anybody's got any other questions they would like to ask now, but we may be able to give a little bit of time back to people. Which I always like doing. Time is the most valuable asset I can ever give you, other than saving you from a data breach through security. But I'll hand back to Manali.
Okay. So thank you, Oliver. So hopefully, those who have asked the question, the doubts have been clear completely. And thank you for everyone for the session, and you had given a very good information on the product, and hopefully that will be very useful for the partner to position the product to the customer. And let's take it ahead on this. So that's it. I will, you would like to add over here something from your side?
Just thank you very much for arranging this. It was great to be able to talk to you and kind of talk you through some of the VIPRE solutions. Hopefully it was informative and you got some information there. And if you do want to go into a deeper dive or you want some more information, please don't hesitate either on the solutions we went over today or maybe some of the other solutions that you saw, such as our endpoint EDR, MDR solution, our security awareness training as well. That's a global solution. And also, I noticed one of the questions was around email archiving. So that secure storage of email for compliance reasons. So we can always set up deep dives and technical demonstrations and discussions. If anybody does want that, please reach out to your account manager and we will be able to help facilitate those.
So that's it from our side, and thank you so much for the today's session. Thank you, VIPRE team, and thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ollie. Thank you, Manali.